I'm going to die right here. I'm not going to come out of here, am I? Those were the heart-wrenching last words after John Edward Jones got stuck inside Utah's Nutty Putty Cave and died there in 2009, with Jones' body forever sealed inside. This is Fatal Tragedies with the story of John Edward Jones. The fateful descent begins. On the night of November 24th, 2009, a few days before Thanksgiving, John Edward Jones, 26 years old, entered the Nutty Putty Cave around 8 p.m. Alongside his 23-year-old brother Josh and 9 other friends and family members, they chose to explore the cave as a pre-holiday bonding experience. Josh wasn't John Edward Jones's only brother. He was born into a large family of 5 boys and 2 girls, with an extended family of 16 nieces and nephews. A devout Christian, John's family later described him as having a good nature, delightful sense of humor, strong work ethic, a genuine love of people, a masterful ability to relate to children, a love of and unwavering faith in the gospel of Jesus Christ, and his commitment to his family as an amazing husband, father, son, and brother. At 26, John was enjoying the best part of his life. He was married to Emily, and together they had a 1-year-old daughter. Even more, they had another child on the way who was due on June 13th, but was actually born 2 days after, on the 15th. He was attending medical school in Virginia and had returned to Utah for a laid-back holiday break with his family. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned. It had been a long time since John had explored any caves. Standing at 6 feet tall and weighing 200 pounds, he wasn't the little kid he used to be. The Nutty Putty Cave, situated in Utah, captured explorers' attention since its first exploration in 1960. Its fame soared due to its tight, slippery passages filled with twists, turns, and squeezes. Various sections bear intriguing names like the Birth Canal, the Aorta Crawl, the Scout Eater, and the Maze. This hydrothermal cave has been surveyed to measure 1,355 feet in length and 145 feet in depth. Entering the cave. Being a large group, and for about an hour, everything was going smoothly as the group explored the cave's largest room, called the Big Slide. The atmosphere was lively. John, Josh, and 2 friends decided to tackle a challenge they had heard about, passing through the Birth Canal, a narrow and tricky passage leading to a larger room. John took the lead, wriggling forward with determination. However, the expected spacious room didn't appear. Undeterred, he continued inching forward, only to find the narrow passage take an unexpected sharp downward turn. Confidently, John pressed on, perhaps noticing the tunnel widening at the bottom, but realization struck too late. The misstep occurred 50 feet earlier. Conflicting sources on the internet made it unclear whether John accidentally turned into the Scout Eater from the Birth Canal, or if he missed the Birth Canal entirely and entered a nearby passage called Ed's Push. Unlike the Birth Canal, Ed's Push doesn't lead to a larger room. It's a dead end, especially for a 6-foot-tall, 200-pound man. To complicate matters, John found himself in a fissure that descended nearly straight down, leaving him unable to turn back. Now John was fully aware that he was almost stuck and couldn't turn around. There was no space to wiggle back the way he came. He had no choice but try to move forward. Attempting to make his way through a passage barely 10 inches wide and 18 inches high, about the size of a clothes dryer opening, he tried to exhale to reduce the air in his chest. The goal was to fit through the tight space. However, when he inhaled again and his chest puffed back out, he found himself stuck for good. I really want to get out. When John's brother Josh discovered him, desperation filled the air. Despite Josh's futile attempts to free John, he slid even deeper into the unforgiving passage, now trapped more severely. With his arms pinned beneath his chest, a profound sense of helplessness engulfed John. In the suffocating darkness of the cave, where prayers seemed to echo, both devout Mormons, John and Josh, turned to a heartfelt plea. "Guide us as we work through this," Josh prayed, while John, facing the abyss, whispered a desperate appeal. "Save me from my wife and kids." In the cavern's depths, time stood still as Josh, with a heavy heart, scrambled towards the cave's exit to summon help. Yet, even with assistance on the horizon, John remained trapped 400 feet into the cave, 100 feet below the Earth's surface. The challenge of bringing aid, equipment, and hope down that cavernous depth took an agonizing hour. The first ray of hope arrived in the form of Susie Matola, a compassionate woman who reached John around 12:30 a.m. on November 25th, 3.5 agonizing hours into his entrapment. Even though all she could see was a pair of navy and black running shoes, she introduced herself to John, reestablishing a human connection in the pitch-black abyss. "Hi, John. My name's Susie. How's it going?" "Hi, Susie. Thanks for coming," John said, "but I really want to get out." As the night unfolded, a multitude of rescuers flooded in, their faces etched with determination. The rescue team engaged in a flurry of brainstorming, exploring one plan after another. Every possibility was considered, from lubing the cave walls to using a rescue rope threaded through climbing cams, with one end secured around John's legs and the other pulled by the team. Simultaneously, they attempted to drill away rock chunks near John, but the hardness of the material and the awkward position made progress slow and agonizing. Despite an hour of drilling, they managed to penetrate only a couple of inches into the unyielding rock. In the cramped confines of the narrow cave, the rescuers adapted, attempting a rope pulley system anchored by bolts drilled deep into the cave walls. The challenging dimensions of the cave further intensified the difficulty. Despite a robust team of rescuers, volunteers, emergency services, and a hovering rescue helicopter outside, only one person could directly access John. Ryan, one of the rescuers at 6 foot tall, taller than most cavers, yet whip thin, flexible, and seemingly immune to claustrophobia, steeled himself. Despite the fear and heaviness of witnessing John's plight, he knew there was a job to be done. The initial attempt with climbing cams failed due to the anchors struggling to grip the powdery calcite coating the cave walls. Ryan stood by John during this reconstruction. Once the newly drilled system was in place, the team could slowly raise John. Ryan's task was to shift him from the narrow 8.5-inch side of the crevice to the slightly wider side. Then, with all their might, the crew would pull. Intravenous medicine was on standby to administer to John immediately after his liberation. This plan, the rescuers believed, was their final and best chance. In the oppressive darkness, John was slipping away from reality, adding urgency to their efforts. Sean Roundy, one of the rescuers on the scene, explained the difficulties facing anyone, even experienced spelunkers, who went into Nutty Putty Cave. Most of the passages were dangerously narrow, even at the entrance, where warning signs had been placed. "Help me get out. I don't want to be on my head," John told Ryan when he arrived. "Why are you on your head?" Ryan asked. "Why did you guys put me here?" John replied. "Just keep fighting." Upon reaching John, Ryan skillfully untied the knots the previous rescuers had secured around his legs. In a gesture of care, Ryan offered a water pouch filled with Gatorade, extending the attached tube to John so he could drink. And as a reminder that he wasn't alone in the dark abyss, Ryan gently rubbed John's leg. The connection between them deepened, especially considering John's strong Mormon faith. Shared faith with several volunteers who attempted to free him became a source of comfort. In moments of conversation, they delved into their missions for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and even conversed in Spanish, a language both were familiar with. Ryan from his mission to Texas, and John from his mission to Ecuador. "I'm sorry I'm so fat," John said. "It would be so much easier for you guys to get me out of here if I wasn't so fat." But Ryan smiled. "Well, when we get you out of here, I'll be your workout buddy," he said. "I can't believe I'm upside down." John's predicament became even more complicated due to the contorted position of his body, nearly upside down, with only his feet visible to the rescuers. The low-hanging ceiling above his feet made a straightforward extraction impossible, as pulling him out would be hindered by his feet. Time ticked away, marked by frantic efforts and the disheartening failure of the initial climbing cam system. Meanwhile, John's condition worsened. Trapped upside down for an extended period, he grappled with difficulty breathing, and his heart strained against gravity to maintain a continuous blood flow to his brain. Swinging between panic and moments of calmness, John endured the harrowing experience. As the clock relentlessly ticked, reaching the 19th hour of John's upside-down entrapment, Rescue commanders on the surface also knew how much thoughts of his family helped John in his dark prison. So Salt Lake County crews brought in a telecom, a set of 2 radios connected by a cable line. Extending the line 400 feet from the entrance to John's tunnel, they handed a speaker to Ryan. In the dimness of the tunnel, Ryan lay, his arms stretched out with the little black box. Tears streamed down the rescuer's face as Emily, from the tumultuous surface to the musty, cramped tunnel, shouted desperately to reach John. Through this lifeline, John connected with his wife, both agitated yet finding solace in each other's voices amid the turmoil of the cave entrance. "I love you. Just keep fighting," Emily's voice crackled through the box. John replied saying, I love you. Tell Lizzie I love her. I'll get out and I'll come see you." Everything shifted when the rescuers successfully completed the installation of their pulley system and commenced the concentrated effort to pull John to freedom. Now it was 4 p.m. on November 25th, and John had been trapped for 19 hours. But rescuers finally had the power to pull him out. The rope was threaded through nearly 15 tandem pulleys meticulously drilled into the cave wall. Nearest to John, it passed through a natural arch in the wall just above the crack where he was ensnared. Ryan tried to prepare John for what was about to happen. "Okay, John, I need your help. I need you to make sure that you're pushing with your hands. I'm gonna push you this way." In the pit, 8 people moved in unison. John's body ascended from the crevice. With each tug, he inched a little further. Suddenly, his feet collided with the low ceiling, and his scream pierced the air. Urgently, Ryan shouted for the teams to lower him, allowing John a brief rest. On the 3rd lift, as they brought John upward once more, Ryan leaned into the crack. It was the first time in hours that John caught a glimpse of another person. "John, look up at me," Ryan said. "How you doing?" After the 3rd upward pull, a significant milestone was reached. John, now at eye level with the closest rescuer, displayed signs of exhaustion. Tired eyes, a grimy face, but overall he seemed remarkably fine. "It sucks. I'm upside down. I can't believe I'm upside down," he said. "My legs are killing me." Despite the complaints, a smile adorned John's face, not unnoticed by the rescuer. After a brief rest, they decided to press on. John was on the verge of liberation. After about 20 minutes, Ryan raised his voice to yell, "Haul!" he said. The rope moved. John inched upward. In the face of overwhelming odds, Ryan dared to hope. The thought flickered, John might escape this trouble. Though undoubtedly injured, he could embrace Emily, witness his baby's birth, and see his daughter grow up. There was a chance he could live. But then the world exploded in a blast of pain. Disaster strikes. As the rescue team pulled John upward for the 4th time, a sudden shift in events unfolded. The entire team was thrown backward as the rope went loose in their hands. Ryan screamed. Then everything went black. When he woke up, blood was everywhere. His jaw hurt and his eye was getting big. He'd felt a hard impact on his face, causing him to briefly lose consciousness. Amidst the settling dust, he realized that the stone arch near John's legs, where the rope was tied, had shattered, and the closest key bolt had broken off. But where was John? Disoriented, he couldn't locate John in the dust, but soon the grim reality emerged. John had slid back down the crevice, seemingly even deeper than before. He'd landed on his head again, but he didn't look worse. Ryan, with the nearly split tongue, tried to talk and be reassuring. "John, I'm bleeding. I've got to get help, but it's okay. Everything's okay. Someone else will come in with you." With severe facial injuries from the impact, Ryan, unable to continue, had to switch places with his father, also on the rescue team. When his father reached John, it became evident that John's breathing had become shallow and infrequent, a struggle for life. Calls for John went unanswered, and the rescuer, in a desperate attempt to secure the rope around John's waist, became stuck himself. After a harrowing escape, he drilled a new hole for the pulley and crawled out of the cave, exhausted, to be replaced by another rescuer who reached John but couldn't make contact. A medical professional eventually entered the cave and reached John. At midnight on November 25th, John was pronounced dead at the age of 26. Despite the efforts of 137 rescuers toiling for 27 hours, they left the site with empty hands and heavy hearts. One rescuer expressed that it was the toughest rescue in his 29 years of being a search and rescue volunteer. The following day, authorities deemed it too difficult and perilous to retrieve John's body from the cave, leaving Nutty Putty Cave as John Edward Jones' eternal resting place. A week later, public authorities decided to permanently close Nutty Putty Cave to the public, sealing it for good. In memory of John, his family placed a plaque at the cave entrance, ensuring that his legacy remained etched into the cavern's history. However, the cave was reopened again on May 18, 2009. After it was reopened for everyone, there was a new way to apply to go inside. This was done to make sure people who wanted to explore the cave knew how to stay safe underground. Thanks for joining us on this emotional journey. Before you click away, here's a question for you. What's the most challenging adventure that you've ever embarked on? Share your story in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more captivating content. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe.